Okay guys, today we're gonna get juicy and we're gonna talk all about how much money I make on YouTube as a very small channel. So we're not gonna get too much into the analytics of my channel, but we're definitely gonna talk about money. The reason I'm not gonna get too much into the weeds of analytics is because frankly, I don't pay that much attention to it. And the reason is because, well, we'll get into that. So I started my channel in the beginning of 2023, and I guess I've been on YouTube for a year and a half. I only post once a week, so I don't post multiple times a week, twice, 3 times. I know that gets you a lot more traction. I know that gets you a lot more views and whatever, but for me, I just don't have time for that. And I also don't have that many ideas, okay? So that is why I only post once a week. But I have been consistent. I will say that. I've been consistent. Okay, so let's talk about the basics. The basics is how do you get monetized? The way you get monetized on YouTube is you have to hit 2 criteria. One is you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers. And the second thing is you have to have at least 4,000 watch hours logged. Anyway, how do you make money on YouTube? You make money through AdSense, Google AdSense. So once you become eligible to become monetized, then they let you know on your YouTube studio. Then you have to go through the process of verifying your identity and address. The other ways that you can also monetize on YouTube is obviously through affiliate links, which I only started doing. And, you know, I do that because does it help? Sure. And, you know, anything helps and that's great. But I do it also because I feel like a lot of people get mad when you don't link stuff that people are interested in. And so I do understand that is very helpful to a lot of you. And so if you go through the trouble of finding the pieces or products that you're talking about that people might be interested in, then I do link affiliate links. If you know, it's obviously your choice to use them or not. If you do use them, content creator gets a very tiny commission on a sale if you make the purchase through that link. If you don't, then that's fine too. But it's a good analytic, I think, for me or for other people, just to see what are the types of things that people tend to be interested in and what are they clicking on, even if they don't purchase. I've only started doing that, and that's kind of like a long window period of getting paid for things like that, because number one, you have to have like a minimum threshold to get paid, but also have to wait out that return window period, because some people will return things, and then obviously you don't get any commissions for those. So they have to make those types of adjustments. So I'm not sure I've gotten paid anything yet. I think that's kind of a much slower, and for me, because I'm not very product oriented, it's less of a thing for me. The other way that you can obviously make money is through sponsorships. So after you meet the criteria, you have to make at least $100 of Google AdSense before it gets paid out. So if you don't make the minimum $100 threshold, then they will hold on to that money and you will keep accruing or accumulating money from other videos until you hit that $100 amount, and then you'll get paid. Okay, so how long does it take to get monetized? Well, that varies. It depends on what your content is. It depends on how good your editing is, how good your thumbnails are, and how winning of a personality you have. So if you have all of those things, you could get monetized within your first month of being on YouTube. I don't have those things, so it took me 9 months. So I have not been monetized for a super long time, but I will share with you actual numbers of how much I have made so far, and I will put I forgot to add it up, but I'll put a tally on the screen at the end so you can just see the total of how much I've earned so far. And I don't know when I'm posting this, but we are in June. Okay, so all I can talk about is my numbers. As of today, I have 1,847 subscribers. That number goes up and down. You know, I get like 1 or 2 unsubscribe and then I gain those 2 back or whatever. So like that number obviously moves and you would hope it grows. Okay, so first I'm gonna go through how much I've made each month, but then I'm gonna go through my top performing videos. Those are gonna be a little bit less, I don't want to say accurate, but a little bit misleading, only because a lot of my top performing videos have been videos that I've posted before I was monetized. So we'll get into it. Okay, let's just get into the monthlies for now. Okay, so like I said, I haven't been monetized for a super long time. So I'm going to go into the numbers of how much I've made every month, and I'm going to tell you right now, your mind is going to be blown at how much money I make. Blown. So I started getting monetized last December. It was $118.33. Actually, I'm just gonna round up to the nearest dollar just because it'll be easier and I have less numbers that sound more confusing and, you know, whatever, just to keep things clean. So anyway, $118.33 was my first one. Okay, so January was my next one and I made $154. February, I guess I didn't make the minimum, so that skipped. March, I made $138. April was $118. May, $117. June, which is a grand total of, putting it on the screen here. Now you're thinking to yourself, that's not much money. You're right. That's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money at all. But let me get into my top performing videos. And I just sorted my videos through the highest number of views. I'm just gonna kind of cut off my threshold at like 15,000. So my highest viewed video is called How to Pack 12 Chic Outfits in One Backpack. I was really surprised with how much engagement I got with that and how many views I got with that. And you know, I mostly talk about handbags on this channel, so that was really interesting because I didn't expect that to happen. So that was 20,000 views. But I think the reason I got a lot of views on that was because I think people found it helpful. At least that's what the feedback on the comments kind of, I remember them to be. So that was pretty cool. That video made a total of $67. Now that number is misleading because I posted that video when I was not monetized yet. So a lot of those views happened before I was monetized. So obviously you're not earning any money during that time. Once you hit that threshold and you verified everything and whatever on YouTube, then you start monetizing and you actively go into YouTube Studio to hit, yes, monetize my video. Then you'll get monetized. I guess that number is a bit misleading because I'm not really sure at what point I started monetizing on that video. So had this video been posted while I was monetized, I think that number would have been a lot bigger. I don't know how much bigger, but it would have been bigger. My next video that popped was a little over 19,000 views. Again, this was another video that was filmed before I was monetized. It was one of my very early videos and that got over 19,000 views, but I only made $39 on that. The third video with my highest views is about just under 18,000, which is the Louis Vuitton multi-pochette accessoire, worth it. Again, another video that popped before I was monetized. So these are just the residuals of people who are viewing that video after monetization. So for that video, I made $34.10. My entire Chanel collection video, that popped pretty early on, again, before I was monetized. And so most of my views happened during that time. And I've only made $9.22 post monetization. So again, having 17,300 views, you don't make a lot because it was during the time before you were monetized. My next video performing after that was the best everyday Fendi baguette, what fits inside, and a review that had 16,400 views. Again, one of my earlier videos before I was monetized. So since I was monetized, I only made $21.85. So, okay, let's just go through one more video. The next video that performed right under that was the Delphine MM bag compared with my push-up Matisse. That got over 14,100 views to date. And again, one of my earlier videos before I was monetized. So the revenue that I made from that so far post monetization was $25.92. Okay, so what does this all mean? It all means that you don't make very much money on YouTube. Can you? Yes, of course. It depends on what your content is, what your niche is, how good production value or entertainment value or educational value you have, and that sort of thing, of course. Now, after looking at all the numbers, you might ask yourself, is it worth doing YouTube? Well, that depends. That depends on what you're going into YouTube for. For me, it's always been a hobby and it will always continue to be a hobby. The minute YouTube becomes work for me, I'm not gonna wanna do it anymore. It's not gonna be fun and it's gonna feel like work. The reason I do YouTube personally is because I like to connect with people in this community, whether it be around handbags, fashion or just outfit ideas and those sorts of things. So that's where I get value out of YouTube. Okay, so where am I headed with YouTube? Well, the $100 that I make every month is fun. I do think sometimes it's easy to get caught up in, oh, well, I haven't like really grown, or you feel like you haven't really grown your channel. And the only real way that you can tell if your channel is growing is through subscriber count. Yes, it's also through views, because a lot of people will view your channel or your videos without actually being a subscriber. Now, I know a lot of like other content creators might be like, oh, subscribe to my channel. The reason I find that I don't really say that much, if at all, is because if you don't want to subscribe, then I don't want you to subscribe. Now, I also know that you're not going to subscribe just because I've asked you to subscribe. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't want you to be here if you don't want to be here, so I don't really ask that question to subscribe. Now, I do tend to ask for you to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, and that's important to me because that gives me a good barometer and check of whether or not you actually enjoyed the content, and that's kind of like feedback for me. So I do like, you know, asking for that type of feedback. But in terms of like the nitty-gritty stuff of analytics, I really don't get too much into the weeds of that, because it's not that I don't care, it's because I don't want to get caught up in it. Like, I don't want to get caught up in the minutia of what goes behind and making a good video. Like, I want to improve my quality of video in terms of just being able to articulate myself properly, because that's probably my biggest trouble area. Is you have to film a good video and speak articulately in order for the editing process to be easier. I find that I am kind of a slow talker in general, and so I pause a lot, or I stumble on my words a lot, and so I have to like make those corrections in the editing process. So where I'm pausing a lot, I have to delete those pauses, and I try to stitch it together so that it's a little bit faster moving, because I hate the way I talk sometimes. Can you retire on YouTube? Yes. I mean, I think we see a lot of people who make YouTube's their career, and they retire their partners, and then they work with them behind the scenes and do all those sorts of things. So of course you can. I mean, and that's an amazing thing. For me, I am never going to be a full-time YouTube person. I am never going to be a full-time content creator. I have not taken any breaks since I started my YouTube with any skipped weeks on my upload. And I'm trying to do that because I think consistency is important, just in terms of getting in front of viewers and just making sure that you are continuously putting things out there. That's kind of how the algorithm works, although probably not so great in my favor, because I think, according to what I've heard and read, the algorithm will be in your favor the more you post. So if you're posting 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week or more, then you're going to be fed into the algorithm a lot more and a lot easier than if you just do it once a week like I do. So I hope this gave you a little bit of insight into how much a very tiny channel can make in this type of niche. If you were thinking about it, then go for it. I had been wanting to make a YouTube channel for a while, and I just always talked myself out of it because I'm not someone who, number one, likes to be in front of the camera, and number two, thought I could do it. And I had no idea what I was doing. But the recurring advice that I tend to see when I was researching, you know, doing a YouTube channel and watching videos like this, is that if you really want to do a channel, but you're scared, just do it. Just post your first few videos. Even if you're not happy with it, even if you think it's garbage, even if the quality is terrible, just do it, because that's the hardest step to take, is to actually post a video and put it out there, and then you're like, oh my God. The second thing to know is that if you do decide to do a YouTube channel, just know that it can be a very demoralizing thing, okay? I will say that you can work on a video, work really hard on it, or be really excited about a particular video, upload it, and then no one watches it. And that can feel really deflating, really demoralizing, and just very discouraging in general. And so that is something that I will say up front, is that you just kind of have to power through that feeling. Just be consistent. And as long as you're consistent, that means you're practicing. That also means that you're getting better at your craft. That means you're improving and you're making those adjustments. And that also means that eventually you'll get comfortable in doing it. Now, I've been doing this for a year and a half. I'm still very uncomfortable in filming, and that's probably my biggest problem at this point in YouTube is I'm still very uncomfortable in front of the camera. But I will say that it can be fun and it can be a positive place. I'm not someone who's trying to grow my channel dramatically. The reason I say that is because I find that the more views that my channel gets or any particular video gets, I find that there's that many more negative people who just kind of write flippant comments. It just really exude negative energy, and I don't really need that. I will say I don't get that many, which is amazing. Most of my content and interaction with my viewers are 99.9% positive, but you always get a few of those ugly commenters. And when you get those, it really does, it does affect you. And I wish it didn't, because they're strangers, they don't know you, and you don't care about them, and they obviously don't care about you. But it does affect you. And so there is something to be said about not wanting to be that big, because that means the negativity can also grow as well. And I don't want that. I don't need that. And so that's why I'm totally fine with being a small channel. Anyway, I really hope you found this video helpful. I hope you found it insightful or interesting. YouTube is not my retirement plan. I don't need it as my retirement plan. I don't want it as my retirement plan. So, I think that takes a lot of pressure off for me, and therefore I can make it a little bit more fun. And that's what it's all about for me at the end of the day. So thank you so much for staying with me through this entire video. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you could hit the thumbs up button. And if you want to binge watch any of my other videos, you can do that here, and I will see you next time.